All right, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about dewinterizing our RV. First, we're going to talk about flushing all the antifreeze that has been placed in here over the winter. And then we're going to sanitize the system. So there's a lot of flushing and filling and more flushing and more filling. Stick around, check it out. During the time that I winterized everything, I did use, this is Prime Guard is the brand, no sponsorship or anything here, just RV and marine antifreeze. I found this at the local parts store for your cars and vehicles. And it is safe for RVs, boats, swimming pools, and all sorts of stuff like that. It doesn't harm the seals, and it's not like radiator fluid. It is antifreeze, but it is safe for the potable water locations. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up a flow meter to my hose, and it will tell me how much water I'm placing into my tank. And I'm going to power fill the tank with probably about 4 or 5 gallons. That way I can flush the system inside at the faucets. It's upside down, but you can see that it is running and it is showing me how much I'm putting in. So I know I don't need to fill the whole thing up, but I do need enough in there that I can run the faucets, the toilet, and the shower, and get everything rinsed out. And typically I don't hook up my full regulator. I just use a temporary one that is set between 40 and 50 psi. Once you've completed filling up your tank, you're going to switch to city water. What you want is fresh water coming in so that you can turn on all of your faucets and flush out any of the glycol that is in there or antifreeze. Once you're inside, on cold and hot, you're going to flush all the water until you no longer see the pink antifreeze coming out or foaming. When you've completed that process, switch it to the other side, cold or hot, and flush it as well. You're going to do this for all the faucets. That would include our bathroom, and just let it run until you no longer see any pink fluid and you don't see any foaming happening. All my pink fluid is pretty much gone. Don't forget the shower. Get all the pink residue up off the ground. If you have a laundry service, even if you're not using it, this is the time to rinse it out. Don't forget. Now, once I've filled the tank and I want to switch back over to dry camping, so I'll make sure that all of my toggles meet the same requirements, and then I will turn on my water pump. You heard it for a second there. Now I'm ready to use the pump to flush the system into the gray tanks. All right, one of the processes that you're going to do to sanitize is you're going to use household bleach. Yep. And what I do is I get a small container like this and I place a ratio of bleach per how much I'm putting in to the tank. Now, the standard is about 2 ounces for 15 gallons. You don't have to use a whole 15 gallons. I have an 80-gallon tank, so why would I need to fill it up completely? So usually, because I'm just going to be flushing the lines, I'll use an ounce and put about 7.5 gallons or so through my meter into the tank. Then I will use the pump to pump it through all the lines at the faucets and showers and toilets and everything else. You can do it more than one way. This is just the way that I do it. I don't have a filter system to run it through, and I don't want to try to add it into the hose and push it in that way. I actually use an old hose that I cut, and I fix this to the panel, place it in here with the ounce of bleach and some water to dilute it, and draw it into the tank through the sanitize option on the panel. Once I draw the fluid into the tank, I know it's in the tank, and then I will flush it through the lines, let everything sit for about 15 minutes, and then once it's sat, I will go ahead and drain it all out of the tank, drain it out of the low point lines, and then I will refill everything back up with fresh water. At this point, you're filling all the way to the top, completely filling up your water tank. You want it completely washed out. Second to that is you're going to use that fresh water that's in your tank to flush the lines out. Of course, you've closed your low point drains at this point, so all you're doing is circulating it in and then down into your gray tank holding system. Okay, so we've drained our lines. Then we added some water to the tank and we flushed our lines. We've also connected directly to city water inlet and ran water through the system to get as much of the antifreeze out of the system. Then we drained the low points, we drained the tank, and now we're going to fill it again, but we're going to put the sanitizing solution in there and let it sit. So we have to fill it. We use our cup that we talked about earlier, and we're going to get that bleach solution in there, about 7.5 gallons or so, and we're going to use that to pump it through the lines so that that sanitizing solution goes through all the plumbing lines. We're going to let it sit for 15 minutes. Once it's all sat for 15 minutes, we're going to go ahead and open our low drain points, and we're going to drain all that fluid out again. And then drain our tank again and fill it back up. But before you do that, I do recommend that 7.5 gallons, we probably only used a gallon or so to flush the lines with the sanitizing solution. This is a good time to do our power fill and fill that tank completely full. So once you've flushed all your lines with a good concentrate, you're going to go ahead and fill the rest of your tank to the very top. That way it can sit with a bleach solution inside the tank for that 15 minutes. Once that 15 minutes is complete, we're going to drain everything down, and we're going to just run a little bit of fresh water through it. Now that you've refilled the water system and you've drained out all the bleach mixture solution, we want to rinse the lines to make sure there's no more smell of bleach coming from the lines. We want to rinse all that out and just have fresh, clean water circulating. Don't forget your shower as well. And back to your kitchen sink. And once again, just run it until you no longer can smell bleach. Sometimes what I like to do is catch it in a cup and then give it a smell. If I don't smell bleach, I know I'm good. Catch another cup, nothing. I don't smell a thing. Switch it over to the other side because each line is separate, hot and cold. They come from different locations. Now we're back filling it again after we have sanitized everything. Rinse it out. So we're going to add more all the way to the top this time. And this is going to go till it gets 80 gallons or starts coming out the overflow. It's going to take a minute. So we were able to introduce 71 gallons into the freshwater system. And as you can see, it is draining out of the overflow up here, which means it's full. It's a little too full. So that's part of that process, is it allows it to overflow instead of causing any problems. All right, I'm going to let you crawl under here with me. Now we got our whole 50 gallons we're going to drain out, and this is going to come down like a waterfall. Ooh, look at it go. All right, watch out. Don't get it on your shoes. So now that 50 gallons is going to, 70 gallons is going to drain out of there. And because it's such a mild solution of bleach, it's not going to impact the environment. It's probably just going to clean my driveway a little bit. After you've let the solution sit in there for up to 15 minutes, then you will flush it out as well. After it's done draining, run some fresh water through it, and then let it run dry. One of the things I like to do is I like to use one of these little short attachments that actually came off one of the water filters that I get, and I use that when I'm either attaching my water flow meter, or if I'm just hooking my water line directly so that there's not a lot of tension. These water lines can bend and kink very easily because they are soft, and so this gives it a little bit of firmness so that it doesn't have a sharp bend on it, and then allows it to bend here slightly. Another thing I like to have on hand, and it's something you can find online pretty easy, is quick connect brass fittings. That way, if I leave this connected at all times, whenever I get to a campground, all I have to do is get my hose out and use the quick connect and just connect it directly to the line. I'm done. Typically, I'll feed it up through the hole and connect it there. And when I'm ready to leave, disconnect just like that. Makes it super simple. A couple other things I like to do is I also like to have a splitter on the end of my water pressure regulator. I always hook this up to the main faucet, and then I can connect my water service to it here. Usually the filter starts at this end, so everything coming through the hose is filtered. And then I can also use a separate valve opening if I want to wash out a bucket or clean my RV or truck or some other water service. So having a splitter there comes in handy. I do have a connection for the other end for my hose, and this goes onto my hose, and that gives me a quick connect as well when I'm connecting my main hose at the other end at the faucet. So that pretty much covers everything as far as getting yourself unwinterized, ready for the spring, and sanitized. Now, there's probably a few steps in there that I didn't record, but you got the idea that you do have to drain everything out, flush it out, sanitize it, then drain the sanitizer and have fresh water back in the system, or leave it dry until you're ready to go on your first trip. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, toss them down in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can.